Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure how many more times I'm going to have to say these words. Hashtag mom's boyfriend. This is flat out getting ridiculous. And yes, this story comes out of Texas, and Texas takes another L. My home state. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'm getting kind of tired of reading these stories because this is totally preventable. And I'm sorry, I'm getting to the point to where I'm not even feeling sorry for these mothers anymore that keep choosing these boyfriends from the thug zoo. They continue to keep getting these thug lions and these thug grizzly bears and sending their kids with them. And then they just think that we're supposed to feel bad for them. And then they put up these inordinate GoFundMes. If you've watched my story, I've been doing this thing almost about 4 years now. If you've heard even one of my stories, this is zero excuse to continue to keep putting your young, defenseless children in danger. Zero excuses. Irving, Texas. The individual that you see on my screen is 23 years old, and he has been arrested in the killing of a 2-year-old boy in Irving, Texas. Arturo Santiago Pena-Almanza. Pena-Almanza Jr. Why you got that long ass name? Stupid ass boy. Arturo Almanza Jr. faces a charge of capital murder. Wow, they are going to send him to the end of the earth. Good for that. Capital murder of a child under the age of 10 years old in the death of the little boy by the name of Jeremiah DeGrate Rios, or Jeremiah D. Rios. I hope I didn't pronounce his name incorrectly. According to a police news release, police officers responded around 9:30 a.m. Tuesday to a home in the 300 block of Brown Drive near North Story and Rock Islands Road to report of an unconscious person. When officers arrived, they found the little boy, Rios, dead inside. He's 2 years old. And I want y'all to look at this prince. Look at this beautiful baby boy. Looks like the happiest kid in the world. Looks like a happy little cowboy, does he not? Look into that baby's eyes and tell me that there is something that will make you so mad that you will want to hurt that baby. There is nothing. There's nothing on earth that that boy can say, nothing on earth that that boy can do to deserve what it is that his mother's boyfriend did to him. And I'm going to warn you guys, not only am I going to say some things that are not going to sit well with your sensibilities, but the story got some details that are probably going to turn your stomach. It's going to be a little hard to hear. So if you can't handle that, I understand if you need to exit the channel. I get it. I totally get that. But that's your disclaimer. Detectives determined that the boy's death was no accident. According to police, surveillance video showed the suspect and the child leave the apartment at 3 a.m. to go down to the car before returning around 4 a.m. When they returned, police said that the child did not look to have life. Let me say that again. Surveillance video showed the suspect and the child leave the apartment at 3 a.m. to go down to the car before returning around 4 a.m. When they returned, police said that the child did not look to have life. There's so many questions just in that sentence alone. First of all, where the hell was his mother at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning? Is there an excuse for that? Maybe mama was a stripper. Maybe mama was working in the trauma center at a hospital or something. I don't know. What was she doing at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning that she was not there with her son? But I digress. Let's move forward. It looked like the child did not have life or needed some type of special medical attention, but the suspect did not render aid according to the video. Rosa Rios, who was the boy's mother, we'll talk about that GoFundMe here in a moment, spoke to the news about the incident and said that she was asleep when Pena-Almanza, her boyfriend, who she said was her boyfriend, so she confirmed it, took her son outside with him to get a charger from his vehicle. Why did you need to take the boy outside to allegedly get a charger at 3 o'clock in the morning? Where are most children at? Usually at 3 o'clock in the morning. Usually in bed, usually sleep. There's usually no reason to ever take a child outside of a house or an apartment at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Huh? Can we agree to that? Anyway, I asked him, why didn't he wake me up when my son asked him to go outside? And he said, because he didn't want to wake me up, according to the mom. Police said that the mother called 911 around 5 hours after Pena-Almanza returned inside the home when she woke up and found her 2-year-old wasn't breathing. Here's where some of y'all who defend women for every freaking reason are probably going to get mad at me. Here's where some of y'all are going to get mad at me. I've said this before on a number of different stories. This man, who was not the biological father of this kid, who has no DNA tied to this kid, who clearly hates this kid because every time he looks at that little boy, he doesn't see you. He doesn't see himself. He sees the man that you were sleeping with previously before he got with you. That's what he sees when he sees that little boy. He doesn't see a little boy. What that man sees when he looks into that child's face is he sees mom's ex-boyfriend. And you expected for him to treat that child like it's his own and it's not his own? Knowing that this fool has a violent propensity, because I'm sure he was also abusive to the mom as well. He went to the car, and I want y'all to hear this. He went to the car with her son at 3 o'clock. This is on video. Get mad if you want. He came back an hour later. On video, it looked like he came back with a dead child, with an unresponsive child. Walked back in the house. Mom knew about it at that time. She was conscious enough to know that they both went outside. An hour later, came back in, and this stupid ass bitch didn't go check on her kid. What did mom do? What does the logical mother do? Most mothers, first of all, wouldn't have got with this dude from the jump. Second of all, wouldn't have left their kid in his possession to go outside at 3 o'clock in the morning to do what? How you know he wasn't molesting your kid? You think that child molesters won't molest boys? When statistics actually say that a large number of the children that end up going missing or children that get molested are boys, more than most people understand? Let alone the fact that that never popped in your head. You waited, according to the news, and this is coming from WFAA.com, which is the same news source that the mom gave the interview to. So if you want to get mad at me about what I'm saying, talking about I wasn't there, I don't know what really happened, I don't know what the mom is going through, we'll talk to the news station who published this story according to her words. Her words say, around 5 hours after he came back inside, the mom went to check on her kid. And y'all gonna tell me y'all feel sorry for the mom? Does the AFC feel sorry for the mom? Or you, even if you're not a part of the AFC, if you're watching this video, do you feel sorry for the mom? Because let me show you guys something. There are clearly some people out there who feel sorry for the mom who read this same goddamn story. And what did they do? Y'all know what they did. They went to her GoFundMe. Y'all see what it says? Let me break out my trusty whiteboard real quick if you guys do not mind. I need to break out my whiteboard and I need to show y'all something on my screen for a moment. Let me show you something. This says the organizing fundraiser is Rosa Rios. That is his mom. So mom created this GoFundMe 3 days ago, asking for funeral expenses. She asked for $8,000 damn dollars for a kid that she had zero life insurance on. And clearly people felt sorry because 196 donors, felt sad for her and donated more than her goal. They gave her $8,427. So don't tell me that people didn't feel sympathy for the mom for putting her child in this messed up position, and then was so stupid, was such a level of dumb that she waited not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 hours later. How is she going to explain that? What's the excuse for not checking on your child 5 hours later after some strange man takes your child out in the middle of the morning, takes your child out in the middle of the night around booty call hours? 3 o'clock in the morning is booty call hours, yes. If y'all didn't know, that's what grown folks do. Bring your child in an hour later and you waited 5 hours later to check on your kid. Unless you're dead, there ain't no reason. There ain't that much sleeplessness in the world. There ain't that much tiredness in the damn world. If you really cared about your kid. Let's keep going. Five hours later. Police said that the mother called 911 around 5 hours after they returned inside the home when she woke up and found her 2-year-old son wasn't breathing. Police initially arrested mom's boyfriend on Wednesday on a charge of abandoning or endangering a child, but while detectives interviewed him, the boyfriend said that he killed Rios by hitting him several times. Mom's boyfriend, Pena-Almanza, told detectives that he hit Rios because the young boy wiped feces on him. That in itself poses so many questions. First of all, you said you went to the car to get a charger. You had this boy outside for an hour. I want y'all to remember how I talked about that, booty call hours and potentially molesting and raping boys. Remember that? Remember I said that? One of two things happened. Either this boy used the bathroom on himself, had a potty training accident before he went outside, and you took him into your car for an hour, which doesn't make sense. Or he did it while you had him in the car for an hour doing God knows what. Then you would have to ask yourself, if you were just going to go get a charger, how did the boy's hand come into contact with feces and come into somehow touching you or wiping it on you? I'm sure somebody out there who's pissed off at me has some type of logical explanation for that. How the fuck does that happen? How does it get from his bottom to his hands to touching you to you punching and beating him to death? And you went to get a charger? Really? You took him away from the person that, if he had a potty training accident, that could have changed him, because it was her kid. If it's her kid, unless you're somebody like me who doesn't mind taking care of the things that children go through when it comes to potty training accidents, I personally don't mind, and I have a ton of training doing that type of thing. The logical thing would have been, if that were the case, then you would have just gave him to his mom. Why did you have to kill him? Unless that's not really what happened. He is charged with capital murder. Pena-Almanza said that Jeremiah told him he had to poo-poo, and he said Jeremiah reached inside his pants and wiped it on him. And he said he lost it and pushed him and just started hitting him in his head. Pena-Almanza was later transferred to Dallas County Jail, where he remained Friday. It wasn't yet known what his bond was. I never thought Arturo would do that. He had never lashed out like that before, according to the mom. Well, yeah, if he would have did it before, then that means your son would have been dead sooner, stupid. Anyway, an official cause of death for Rios has not been released. Police said that the mother is not a suspect, but the mom should get some type of neglect for not checking on her kid after 5 hours, let alone not stopping the man from taking her son outside for an hour to go get a damn charger at 3 o'clock in the morning. It says that anybody who has info about what happened is asked to call Irving Police at 972-273-1010. Tips can also be submitted by email at ipdcrimetips@cityofirving.org. Meanwhile, family who shared a photo of Jeremiah with the news said that the little boy was like many 2-year-old boys. He loved cars and eating donuts for breakfast, his mother said. They have started an online fundraising campaign to GoFundMe. I already told y'all about that, to help raise money to pay for his funeral, because his mama was stupid enough not to have a life insurance plan on her boy. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Let's get it.
Federal law allows citizens to reproduce.
23-year-old Arturo Santiago Pena-Almanza Jr. is charged with killing
or video disc under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. Allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video disc under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107.
I also want you guys to think about this, and if y'all would, do me a favor and please click that thumbs up. Help share this baby boy's story and let more people know that we're here talking about this, okay? If y'all would, just click that thumbs up. I want y'all to think about this. She said he's never lashed out like this before. Based on the mother's words, what does that mean? One would have to assume that what that means is that he has lashed out on this boy before, based on her own words. He's never done it like this before.
According to an arrest warrant, the child, identified as Jeremiah DeGreat, wiped feces from his dirty diaper on Pena-Almanza, and he responded by hitting the 2-year-old with a closed fist. Right now, he's currently being held in Dallas County Jail. Katie Johnston for CBSN DFW.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Lawrence. It is a difficult story to start with in Irving, where a mother is making funeral plans for her 2-year-old son. The woman's boyfriend is facing capital murder charges for killing him. Rebecca Lopez joins me now. Rebecca, you and I are parents. It's unimaginable what this mom is going through right now. What did she say when you spoke with her this afternoon?
Well, as you can imagine, Rosa Rios is just heartbroken, but she did want to talk about what happened. Her boyfriend is under arrest for beating her two-year-old son, Jeremiah, to death. And she just says that she wants to talk about Jeremiah, though, and about what he meant to the family and the joy he brought them.
2-year-old Jeremiah Rios was like many 2-year-olds. His mother, Rosa, says he loved cars and eating donuts for breakfast.
My baby loved eating donuts. Every morning my baby would always tell me, "Mommy, I want donuts."
Rosa held the last shirt her son wore during an interview with us. It was difficult at times, but she wanted to talk about what happened Tuesday morning. She says she was asleep, but her boyfriend, Arturo Pena-Almanza, was awake and took Jeremiah with him to get a charger from his vehicle.
I asked him why didn't he wake me up when my son asked him if he could go outside. He said because I was asleep and he didn't want to wake me up.
Irving police say they have surveillance video from this Irving apartment complex of Pena-Almanza walking with Jeremiah to his truck around 3 in the morning and an hour later carrying the little boy's body back to their apartment.
At that time, the child on that video did not look to have life.
Rosa says her boyfriend told her he got frustrated with little Jeremiah while at the vehicle because the child needed a diaper change.
And that still makes no freaking sense. How was this child getting on your nerves when you took it upon yourself to take him with you to your car? How does that make any sense? The kid got on your nerves, but you took him out of his element, out of that apartment, out of bed, out of sleep, and took him to your car, and he got on your nerves? Huh.
He said that Jeremiah told him again I have poo-poo.
Matter of fact, yeah, thank you for bringing that up, and shout out to Brandy Kendall in the chat. Thank you, Lee Hellinger, for pointing that out for me. Let me show you guys something. I did forget this, but I do have the picture. I want y'all to look at this. Now, I don't know that these bruises on his head are from mom's boyfriend. I don't know, but it's possible. But I did see this earlier, but thank you for calling this out. Let me see if I can refresh it. Let's see. There we go. Can y'all see those scratches on the boy's head? Maybe it's a typical child scratch on the head. I don't know. But thank you for calling it out. You said prior trauma shows forehead, trauma shows on forehead of pick on his bike. I can't tell if there's a black eye there or not, but there are some scratches there. But I did want to show y'all that. But thank you for calling that out.
He said that Jeremiah reached inside his diaper and wiped it on Arturo, and Arturo said he had lost it, and he pushed him and started hitting him in his head.
Police say Pena-Almanza didn't call 911 or anyone to help Jeremiah. They say it was Rosa who called 5 hours later when she woke up and found her son wasn't breathing.
I never thought Arturo would do that. He had never lashed out like that.
Police say Pena-Almanza initially told them he hadn't seen the child that morning, but after detectives confronted him with a surveillance video, he confessed.
Now, Pena-Almanza has been charged with capital murder, and he is in the Dallas County Jail. Now, Rosa and the Irving Police Department say that they could find no history of domestic violence in his past. In Irving, I'm Rebecca Lopez. Back to you.
And this is just a
Crushing story. This sweet little 2-year-old boy killed. Police say the boy died in the hands of someone he knew, his mother's boyfriend. Our Matt Howerton spoke to her about the tragedy.
My baby.
Under a black cowboy hat
He was such a loving baby.
is an innocent face that sadly Rosa Rios will never embrace again.
This is the last shirt that he wore before I took him back that night.
In an Irving parking lot, Rios cried into the last shirt her 2-year-old son, Jeremiah the Great Rios, wore before he was killed. Rios found the boy cold and unresponsive Tuesday morning in his bed. An autopsy revealed he'd been beaten to death. And it didn't take long for investigators to arrest Rios' boyfriend, Arturo Pena-Almanza.
He took my son with him because he said my son was crying and wanted to go with him outside.
Hours before Rios found her little boy lifeless, Pena-Almanza needed to get a phone charger from the couple's car and took Jeremiah with him. The 23-year-old confessed to police that the boy had a dirty diaper and wiped some feces on him. In response, court documents reveal that Pena-Almanza admitted to hitting little Rios with his fists.
They all three resided at the residence together.
Police say surveillance footage at the couple's complex showed Pena-Almanza walking back to the apartment with Rios limp in his arms. His mother?
I was asleep that night.
Asleep the entire time.
After he confessed, I asked him why didn't he wake me up when my son asked him if he could go outside.
Pena-Almanza now facing a capital murder charge. As for Rios, she's now sitting in the toughest hours of her life. She's not facing any charges. Only
She
a
should
funeral.
be.
The little boy she loved so much. A whole life ahead of him. His final chapter, senselessly written this week. In Irving, I'm Matt Howerton.
Here to talk about the capital murder arrest of Arturo Pena-Almanza Jr. for the murder of 2-year-old Jeremiah Rios. Officers responded to the 300 block of Brown Drive on Tuesday morning, September 21st, around 9:30 a.m. Once Irving Police and Irving Fire were on scene, they immediately noticed that Jeremiah was deceased at that time, and there was no possibility of any type of first aid or CPR to be rendered. Investigators were called out due to it being a child death and some unusual circumstances just in the beginning. They started interviewing the mom of the child. They also interviewed the mom's boyfriend, who is the arrestee, Arturo, and talking to them, and stories started being inconsistent due to evidence that was found by our investigators of surveillance videos, talking to medical examiners, and being informed of the different blunt force trauma that was on Jeremiah. We knew that this was not an accident and that foul play had occurred here in the death of this 2-year-old child. The suspect was arrested on Wednesday for abandoning or endangering a child. We wanted to get that arrest as quickly as we could so that we wouldn't have to worry about any possibility of him fleeing or not being able to locate him. Investigators continued to speak with him and interview him, and on Thursday during that interview he ended up confessing to being the person who did murder Jeremiah. His reasoning that he gave was that Jeremiah wiped feces on him and he began hitting him several times all over his body. That charge was upgraded to capital murder of a person under 10 years of age. Arturo is currently at the Dallas County Jail. The bond I am unaware of. I don't believe there's been a bond, but that arraignment process is being taken place over at Dallas County. Does anybody have any questions right now?
Have y'all, what about mom? Will mom be charged for this? Or when you said the stories were inconsistent, was her story inconsistent with his, or is her story inconsistent also?
So, mom is not a suspect or a person of interest. Mom is obviously devastated, and this is just a horrific incident that happened to her. So the Irving Police Department is not looking at her in any type of a negative light.
Did the suspect in this case have any relationship to the child other than just being a caretaker? He wasn't a father, was he?
He was not the father of the child. I believe he's been in a relationship with the mom for a little over a year. They all three resided at the residence together.
Is this suspect anyone that Irving PD has dealt with in the past?
We don't have any local criminal history. There's not a history of domestic violence at this apartment complex for these individuals. So we don't have a previous on them before this incident.
Any records of Child Protective Services?
Not that I've been made aware of, and not that the investigators shared with me of any concern for this.
For your investigators seeing something like this, how are they and something like this?
No, it's devastating. You know, throughout our police careers, we sometimes see things that no one should ever actually have to see or bear witness to. Thankfully, we have a strong peer support unit here at the police department. We do try to encourage our officers to speak to someone if they need assistance or if they're having a hard time dealing with the call. Most critical incident calls of this nature are involving similar situations. We do have a debrief with one of our in-house counselors. But this is stuff that stays with you your entire career, right? So, they're handling it the best they can, and they perform their jobs to a high standard so that we can make sure that we got this person put in jail where they belong.
You said there was surveillance video that kind of helped tell the true picture. Did that capture what happened with the child on the surveillance footage?
Correct. So on the apartment complex has surveillance video on it. We also got surveillance videos from other persons that submitted it to us. But the surveillance video does show the suspect and the child leaving the apartment around 3 o'clock in the morning and then returning around 4 o'clock in the morning. At that time, the child on that video did not look to have life or needed some type of medical attention. The suspect was failing to get medical attention for the child at that time, which is what led to the probable cause affidavit being granted for the endangering of the child. So that's how that case or that charge was able to be applied.
You said Pena-Almanza, last name Pena-Almanza?
Pena-Almanza Jr.
You said that he confessed. Any remorse at all to investigators about what he did? Apparently he was a caretaker for this child for a long time. Did he express any sadness or any remorse at all after the incident? Because he did tell you guys what he did.
Right, he did tell the investigators what he did and everything, but whether he was remorseful or not remorseful, I don't think any of that would be a contributing factor to constitute what he did. So his actions on that are irrelevant. The simple fact is he killed a 2-year-old, and there's nothing he could have said or reacted that would have justified that.
What's the last time you guys had a death like this in the community? Do you remember at all?
I do not remember off the top of my head. I know we've had deaths like this before, and they're tragic. They're tragic, and each one is a unique case, and each one is a very tragic case for all parties involved, from the families, the parents, the first responders that respond out there. We always, as I think humans, try to find a reasoning of why someone might have done something, but sometimes on situations like this, there's never going to be a good reason as to why.
Any other children at the residence?
I do not believe so. That question actually didn't come up with my investigators, but I don't believe there was any other children at the location.
Can you kind of walk us through the process of the first charge that you guys gave him that got him here to discuss what happened that day? Because it sounds like you guys had another charge and then the interview process really began.
Correct. So we had the evidence first before we had that charge. So in speaking with him, the investigators already knew that we saw him on surveillance video around 3 o'clock in the morning. So the first version of that he might have said, I didn't see the child from the time I went to bed, from the time that we called the police at 9:30 in the morning, was obviously an inaccurate story. They kept pressing and telling about the surveillance footage around 3 o'clock in the morning. Around 4 o'clock in the morning, he admitted to going to the mom's car, try to play it off, but as the surveillance video showed and that evidence showed, that the victim was definitely being carried in a way to where the body was very limp.
Makes you wonder what he did to that boy. I would love to hear the rest of that coroner report.
So that was obvious that the child needed some medical attention. It wasn't a normal way for a child to look on being carried. So once that him and the child went back into the residence and the police were not contacted for almost 5.5 hours later, that was evidence enough to be able to charge him with that endangering a child offense.
Did he say where he went?
He said he just went down to the car. So and they saw that that it went down to the vehicle. But yeah, he was gone about an hour. He tried to describe it as just 15 minutes, but it was time stamped on the video there, about 50 plus minutes.
So the alleged, I always say alleged, did the crime was it committed there or was it committed away?
Those specifics I do not have for you. I do not know if it occurred in the apartment and then occurred in the vehicle, or maybe back and forth, whichever the case. I don't have that information for you.
Who called 911 to know that the child was dead? Was it mom?
It was mom, yes.
Do either of these adults have family connections in the community? Are they longtime residents, recent residents?
So they are local North Texas residents, so they do have connections in the community.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you guys my closing thoughts. Again, I don't have any sympathy for the mom for the reasons already stated, because there's no excuse for her to, unless I'm missing it. It sounds like he said he didn't want to wake her up and he took the kid outside, which makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. 3 o'clock in the morning. So if mom says she did not know that was happening, I just have to accept that. Fine. But when they came back inside, I believe that she knew that he came back inside at that point, and she just assumed her son is okay. You just assume. 5 hours later, you call 911. Just nothing about that sits well with me. And then turn around and ask for an $8,000 GoFundMe, and they funded it. Because you decided to put this man inside of your house with complete and unblocked access to your son. You put your child in the thug lion cage just because you liked him, you wanted to be with him, and it cost you your son's life. And I keep begging and pleading with mothers to stop putting your children around people. Stop. Like maybe you just need to consider not dating. Maybe you should consider not having a man. If you couldn't make it work with the man that you made the kid by, then maybe you just shouldn't have a boyfriend. A living boyfriend at that. Y'all might not like my options, but you got to do something because the kids keep dying. They keep getting beat up, stabbed, shot. They hit their head on the tub like they always say, all kind of stupid crap. According to this man's words, there was no reason for him to volunteer himself to take this child outside for an hour. Then you beat him up because the kid did something that you didn't want him to do. Allegedly. This baby couldn't speak for himself, nor could he defend himself against mom's thug lion boyfriend. This little boy's life was lost because mom loved her boyfriend more than she loved her son. That is my personal opinion. And if you don't like it, then do something about it. Go save a kid. Stop emailing me. Take that same energy that you have for me in the comment section. Go save a kid's life. Young Jeremiah, young Prince, young cowboy, R.I.P. Thank y'all for listening to the story with an open mind and an open heart. Need to get justice against mom's boyfriend and stop this behavior. Thank you.